All right, so in this video, I'll talk about the concept of 2080, but specifically the way I see it, the way I see how it could be applied to learning. Um, Very common to speak of it in a business setting. So we all know that typically about 20% of your effort gives you 80% of your result. And it's very useful, for example, when I plan out my week and I do some sales in the first half of the day, I always go to my top 20 accounts, and that gives me about 80% of my sales. So that's very easy to figure out because all I need is just numbers. I'm sure that here at London Real, they probably look at where's 20% of the clients are coming from, and that's where the advertising is going to go. Where 80% of the clients. And that's probably 20% of the advertising. When it comes to learning, it's much more complicated. How do you know which 20% of your effort, which 20% of your focus is going to give you 80% of result? Is going to result 80% of your improvement in whatever area you're trying to get an expertise in. There are a couple of things that I found that are very useful. One, you can kind of research what are the foundations of whatever you are learning. And typically, the effort you put into the foundations is more important. So for example, if I am, right now I'm taking guitar classes, so I kind of beforehand did the research. What is the foundations? Sort of the music theory, or sort of mastering the chords and change between the chords, and that's what I'm gonna focus on. I might be wrong, but at least I'm not approaching it in a haphazard manner where I'm just like, hey, let's learn. I am doing it in more of a deliberate way. The other way to improve the results and kind of maybe isolate that specific 20% is to perhaps research the experience of other people. So for example, again, when it comes to guitar, I did the research and I found about 5 different advices that are commonly given how to accelerate the learning. I tried all 5 and I found that 20%, 1 out of 5, works for me. And that is specifically kind of singing along to accelerate the learning of the chords or the notes. So that's 2 ways, and the third way, you can do the foundations, you can do that. And the third way, of course, you can look ahead and kind of visualize the result. If it's a simple class, it could be just a test. If it's something complicated, then again, you can look forward. Again, when it comes to the guitar, I'm looking at the songs and I'm trying to visualize what is the process from me going from here to there. And usually that sort of narrows down my effort. So those are different ways to apply this 2080 idea when it comes to learning. Given that learning, like I said, is my expertise and passion, and this is where my business idea is. And so basically what I'm thinking of right now is how can I help my students in my online product to focus on that 20%. Partially based on what I know what works for people in that particular exam preparation arena. I can use that, and my course specifically will target that, will be designed so as to get people into that area where return is the most. The other thing is I'm thinking of the ways to maybe personalize, even though it's online, but maybe personalize and make it somewhat interactive. So to help people really just kind of discover what works for them. And that is my line of thinking from this concept to the business.